Tired of playing, here go the credits. Shout to the forefathers and the trailblazing sisters. The fans that dap us up and say, damn, we really missed this. And it's okay if they rap phony, but this is snaps, taps, and boom baps, homie, huh?
Ghetto Mind features Will Evans and Eddie Baird. Eddie Baird plays tenor sax. My man Will Evans, I've known him for close to 10 years as well. An outstanding spoken word artist, an outstanding poet. He's also a published author, so you know, Will is doing his thing. Whether it's writing or writing books or writing rhymes, writing poetry, Will is an ill cat. Didn't I is a joint that features my man Big Sherm Dean, who's actually a first cousin of mine. So it was a pleasure for me to get blood family on this joint as well. It's a funky dope joint. A lot of people like it. I'm not surprised that they like it, but I'm somewhat surprised on how much some folks are really digging the joint. So Didn't I is one of those joints that's kind of special to me, because not only is it always humbling and great when people like your work, but just the fact that people are really digging a joint that's it's all blood. That's bloodline. That's family. So that's beautiful. Another joint entitled Get Me features Talisha Holmes and Sincere. Now the joint was actually written by another first cousin of mine, Tam Hamilton, wrote the lyrics. We asked Talisha to lend her beautiful voice as the lead vocalist, and then my homegirl Sincere, who I've known for 8 years, she lends her beautiful voice as well, brings a whole nother dimension to that piece. That's a special joint for me, because other than the actual kick and snares, that whole joint, which was actually produced and recorded in 2004, so actually the first track ever recorded for this album was actually recorded in 2004. My music theory at the time was little to none, but other than the kick and the snare, which I programmed in with the drum machine, everything else was played by hand. All the strings I played via keyboard patches, bass lines, oboes, cellos, even the hi-hats and the percussion. So other than the kick and the snare, that whole joint is played by hand. So that, for me in my musical development, that'll always be something fresh and special to me. Another joint entitled Winter, W-I-N-T-E-R, When I Needed That Extra Reassurance, featuring my man Ed Mabry. There's not enough I can say about Ed Mabry. I've known Ed for close to 12 years. He was the host of the Wednesday night poetry events at the venue entitled Snaps and Taps, where I got my start. And we kind of kicked it off from the start. He has a distinctive voice. So every time people hear Ed, they're like, is that? I'm like, yes. You cannot mistake Ed's voice. He's done radio. He's an international poetry slam champion. He's a national poetry slam champion. He's a regional poetry slam champion. He's a statewide poetry slam champion. He's a citywide poetry slam champion. And this is many times over. It's not like he's just done each of them once. He's won multiple titles over the years. So it was a no-brainer for me to get Ed Mabry on the joint. What's special about what Ed does is he'll come into the studio and he'll have an idea of what he's going to do based on the track I send, or just if I tell him the theme of the project is XYZ. But what he'll do is he'll come in and he'll pick things. As you can see, look around the studio, and you can see I got pictures on the wall, I got albums on the wall, I got promo stuff on the wall, I got album covers that I've had signed on the wall, as well as I have you can see I got some records, some of my record collection is here. So what he'll do is he'll come in and then he'll kind of just look around and he'll kind of like draw from it. So like this joint right here, the Simply Red joint, a lot of you may remember that track, Holding Back the Tears, classic 80s rock ballad type joint. That happened to be out when he came to lay his vocals. So, I'm sitting here tracking the vocals, yada, yada, yada. And when I'm doing my listen backs, I'm realizing like what parts I can start to tell, like what parts he had prepared and what parts he's pulling off of just the different influences and inspiration he gets just from being in the lab. So knowing that he has that level of creativity and artistry is a beautiful thing, and just to watch him in action is an ill experience. Another track on the album entitled Moving On. Was the most recently produced track. It also features the most recently affiliated artist, Elena Rain. I've known her for less than a year. I've been hip to what she's doing. I've kind of been watching from afar her development. So when I reached out to her, she was somewhat surprised because she had heard of who I was and was familiar with some of my work, but she didn't know me. We didn't have the same type of relationship and familiarity that I had with a lot of the other artists I work with. But I knew that I wanted to work with her. So she was more than willing and down to do it, and it was a blessing for me to get her on the album because she brings something to the album that I'm not sure that anyone else could have brought. And it kind of just, it was a perfect way, you know, to help close out the album. So, and you know, I didn't really talk about Eddie much, but Eddie Barrett is like my right-hand man when it comes to any project I do. Any project I do, I gotta find a way to get Eddie on it. He plays tenor sax, and I'm not like a heavy jazz cat, so I don't even have all the words to really explain how dope Eddie is. But Eddie is played with, you know, he's from Donald Byrd, Gary Bartz, you know, Perez Whitted, you know, he's a member of Liquid Crystal Project. I've known Eddie since, you know, since the days of Snaps and Taps when he and Charlie Chop and B-Jazz and Mark Lomax and Steve Lomax and a slew of other artists, you know, just getting down on some hip-hop, acid jazz, jazzy, improvisational. So Eddie and I, we link up and we just have this thing where we just make great music. So with that being said, Snaps, Taps, Booms, and Baps drops April 3rd, 2012. I'm proud but yet humbly excited to be able to say that I have completed a full-length studio album that will be available for you all to hear, love it, hate it, but I've completed it. You know, it's a process that's taken close to, you know, give or take 10 years, you know, but here it is, completed. So, until then, DJ Krate, Digga, Mighty Sound Champion Crew, Snaps, Taps, Booms, and Baps comes to you April 3rd, 4/3, 2012. Till then, peace and love. One.